Final Cut Pro for iPad may lack some of the big features you find on the macOS version, but instead Apple have completely redesigned the application for a touch-based environment, and in the process, I think they've built the perfect video editing software for short-form social video. Once you dive into the app, you'll soon find a lot of familiar things that can settle your nerves a little bit, and you'll start to realize that Apple have actually designed this dashboard perfectly for touch controls. You'll begin to notice that a lot of the frequent controls that you use are really easy to grab with your left or right thumb. So for example, I found myself scrolling through footage with the jog wheel, selecting different clips with my right hand, and then using my left hand to do things like press the play button or to open up the inspector window and maybe adjust some sliders. It all came together really well for a two-handed experience, and I actually had so much fun just laid back on the sofa and putting together a couple of YouTube shorts. It's really surprising to me that you actually don't need an Apple Pencil to enjoy working with this app and be incredibly productive with it. But of course you will be missing out on one or two of the key features. The coolest of those features has to be live drawing, which enables you to create motion graphics over your clips. Now you've got some fairly simple options in order to do this. You can kind of use very limited array of brushes and colors, but they're really cool for annotating or doing things like arrows and small fun little animations. At first the options do feel a little basic, but when you consider how much time you'd have to put into learning how to do them in After Effects or faffing around in something like Procreate to import over a transparent PNG with your animation, it's actually so convenient to have them in the app. And if you are creating social videos for something like Instagram Reels or TikTok, it's brilliant. And I can't wait to see what people do with them on my different feeds. And for those social video editors who find it really difficult to convert landscape footage into portrait, the auto crop feature in Final Cut Pro is gonna be just a lifesaver, especially because you can choose this smart auto crop option, which will zone in on the subject of your shot and track them around the image as if a camera was following them. It's one of those features that just makes you feel like you've got so many possibilities with a piece of software. And that's my favorite feeling to have. Let's say you did want to keyframe that kind of thing in though, you actually do get quite a lot of flexibility with keyframing in your timeline. And as someone who does find keyframing a bit fiddly on the macOS version, I've loved the ability to just punch in my keyframes at certain points of the timeline, hop between them using the little arrows that you have in the bottom right hand corner of the dashboard. Again, it might feel like a couple of extra steps once you're getting used to the software, but I found that it was actually a massive time saver in the end and something that I enjoyed doing with my clips. In fact, if you go digging in the inspect menu as well, there's loads of little time savers that really cater to short form mobile creators. One of those features is the auto timing adjustments that you can find in the speed settings. Let's be fair to LumaFusion, this was one of the features I did like about that app, where it would recommend the correct time adjustment for a clip depending on the speed of your timeline. Apple though have gone one step further and enabled you to auto correct the timing of your clip. So for example, if you've got a 30 frames per second clip on a 24 frame per second timeline, you can click one button, it will adjust that clip to 80% of its speed, and then it will match up with the frame rate of your whole project. It's such a small feature, but it takes a lot of the guesswork out of editing your clips, and I found it incredibly convenient. Even when you're exporting your footage, it feels like Apple knows that the people who are using this app may not be as experienced in video codecs and all that kind of thing. So they do give you some explanations and recommendations about the kind of output file that you will want. And there's even an option that will help you optimize for social media video. It's just so clear that among a lot of other kinds of video editors, Apple have got social media creators in mind here, and there's all these little tweaks that just kind of build up to make this a perfect app for people who just want to make TikToks or YouTube shorts. Of course, there are lots of features that I'd love to see here in later versions. I would really love some color wheels instead of these weird slider things that you have in the color grading section. I'd also love to see a much easier way of adding a voiceover to my clips, because I couldn't figure out quite how to do that. I had to record in another app and then input that file in order to add a voiceover. And of course, the ability to edit on an external hard drive would be a big plus. For my 15-second YouTube short, the project file only grew to about 1 GB of memory. So if you were worried about getting through a lot of edits on an iPad that doesn't have a huge amount of storage, I actually do think it's possible if you just want to stick to social videos. Social video creators that do things that are maybe a little bit lower lift and don't need the full power of a macOS Final Cut app, but are still professionals in their own right. They might use Canva instead of Photoshop, and they might use Final Cut for iPad instead of Final Cut on the Mac. But you know what? They need a powerful program that's going to help them get their work done. And I actually think that this might be it. Whatever kind of editor you are, if you have an iPad with an M1 or M2 chip, then it's definitely worth a 1 month free trial to just see what you could be doing on this particular app. You might also want to check out one of my other iPad videos, but thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.